Hello everyone. Well, in this session, we are going to discuss about the Azure Storage API. So before starting with this topic, let me give you a small background. So whenever you deploy your application, the application will have the dependency on the data. And this data has to be stored somewhere. For this, we require resources, such as the data can be stored on the flat file system, for example, text file and the Excel file. You can store the data inside the table, or you can also take the help of NoSQL databases. So these are the resources which is required by the application. So whenever you deploy your application on the local system, these resources should be present on the local system to be accessed by the application. Now consider a situation where all these resources are present online. And if I want to use this resource, I just need to make a API call or a method call. So this type of infrastructure where everything is online, that means all the resources are online, is provided by the cloud platform. So when I say cloud, that means it is a group of data center which contain the physical machine which hosts these resources. And one of the common vendor for cloud computing platform is Windows Azure. So this is our cloud, and these are the data center which are spread globally. This data center will have the physical machine on which they are going to host the resources, and with the help of method call or API call, I can access this resource. Okay. So these are the different type of storage which is provided by the cloud. The first one is the blob, which stands for binary large object, queue, table, file, and SQL database. Now in this video series, we will focus on blob, table, and SQL databases. Now for this, we need to set up an environment. The first thing is we need a subscription. So when I say subscription, that is I am buying the credential from the Windows Azure so that I can use its resources. Or in other words, I can say I have subscribed the Windows Azure cloud platform so that I can have access to its resource. The second thing is the storage account. So storage account will act as a container which contain all these resources. That is the storage resources such as blob, queue, table, and file. So now in order to monitor the resource, Azure already provide an online portal. So let me open it. So this is the online portal which is bind to my organization ID. Okay. And if I click on the subscription, so these are the subscription which I have purchased from the Azure, and using this subscription I can monitor and also I can utilize the resources. Now I have already created a storage account using this subscription, that is my subscription. Okay. Now if you want to access a remote database, what you need to have, you just need to have a connection string. Similarly, if I want to access this storage account, I just need a connection string. So I will open the new Azure portal and go to the storage account classic. Okay. And I'm going to get the connection string for this storage account. So just click on the storage account. Here you will have keys and just take the primary connection string. So I'm going to use this connection string to access this storage account. Now I will jump back to my Visual Studio and just create a sample project. So let me call it as Azure Storage API project. And I'm just creating a simple unit test project. So first of all, we are going to discuss how you can interact with the blob. So this is the architecture of the blob. First, we have a storage account that is our QA demo in our case. Inside the storage account, we will create the container. The container are nothing. These are the logical block which will contain single or multiple blob. And as I told you, the blobs are the binary large object. Okay, so in the blob, all the data will be stored in the form of binary. So we have the storage account, then we will create a container, and inside the container we will create the blob. Okay, so here I will use the connection string. So private read only string connection string. Okay, so this is the connection string to our storage account, and we will use this connection string to connect to the storage account. Now, as I told you, I'm going to use the Azure Storage API. So those dependent DLL I need to add inside my project. So in order to do that, I will open the NuGet package manager, and here I will search for storage APIs, and I'm going to install this NuGet package. So this NuGet package will add the dependent DLL in my project. So as you can see here, it is adding the DLL in our project. So the installation of NuGet package is over. Now there are certain steps which we need to follow if we want to interact with the blob. First, using the connection string, we will get the connection object. And using that connection object, we will create a blob client. And in order to interact with the blob, we will use the blob client. Okay. So first of all, we need to get the connection object. So for that, I will use cloud storage. Cloud storage account.parse. So this is a method which is going to give us the connection object to the storage account. And here I will specify the connection string. And the return type of this method is cloud storage account. So cloud storage account. So this is going to return me the connection object, that is account. And using this connection object, I will create the blob client. So I will call account dot create cloud blob client. Okay. So if I look at the return type of this method, it is going to return me the object of cloud blob client. So cloud blob client. Now I'm going to use this client to interact with the blob. Okay. So first of all, we will create a blob. So I will open my Azure portal, and this is the same storage account, that is RQA demo. Okay. So inside this storage account we have a blob, and as you can see here, there is no blob. So first of all, I will use client dot get container reference. Now using this container reference method, I will specify the name of container which I want to create inside my storage account. So let me call it as QACTR. And if you look at the return type of this method, the return type is cloud blob container. So cloud blob container, and I will call it as container. And after this, I will call container dot create if not exist. Okay. So this method will do a checking for me that if there is a container with this name, it will skip, otherwise it will create the container. So we have already access to the storage account using the connection string, and now we are going to create the container. So I'm going to put a breakpoint over here and just run this script in debug mode. So let me build it. And I will run it in debug mode. So first we will get the connection object, then we will create the blob client, and after that we will create the container. So if I go back to my Azure portal and just do a refresh, and I will go to the blobs, just do a refresh again. So as you can see here, it has created the container, okay, QACTR, which is coming from here, okay. Now let us suppose I want to delete the container. So there is a method called container dot delete if exist. Okay, so this is going to delete the container. So I will again run this script in debug mode. First I will get the connection object, then create the blob client, then create the container. So again I will check if the container is already there or not. If it is not there, it will create it, otherwise it will skip. So we have the container over here. And if I call this method, so it is going to delete the container. So again I will go back to my Azure portal and do a refresh. So the container is gone. So in this manner, using the Azure Storage API, so all these classes and method are coming from the DLL which we added in our project, and these are the API which is provided by Windows Azure, so that you can interact with the cloud storage. Okay, so in this manner you can create the blob container and delete the blob container. In our next video I will show you how you can create different type of blobs and how you can upload and download the file inside the blob.